Oh, I'm so excited. I just picked up Tarkov. I've been watching all these streamers play it on Twitch, and I'm gonna fire it up and just kill some people. So, okay. Where's the play button? Okay, there's nothing. There's no play button. Okay, well, Escape from Tarkov. That's the name. Let's click that. Scav versus PMC. I don't know I guess we'll go PMC. Is there a tutorial or something? Oh man, look at all these maps. Jeez, okay. We'll treat that. Oh god, warning, you don't have the proper map in your inventory. Acquire a map to review infiltration areas and exfiltration points. What? Okay, we'll go back. So, where's our inventory? Character, maybe? Okay, so where are these maps? What is going on exactly?
I have no idea what is going on!
Where is the tutorial? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Happy holidays, happy new year. I'm back officially from my little hiatus. I took a little break over the holidays from YouTube and just kind of relaxed. Played some other games, spent time with family, all that good stuff. But now I'm back, and I took a little break from Borderlands, and I've been playing some Escape from Tarkov. A friend of mine gave me a free copy of the game a while ago, and I played it a little bit, but it wasn't quite for me at that time. The engine was pretty poorly optimized, and I was playing DayZ, and that game kind of scratched the itch of looter shooter, not looter shooter, that's like Borderlands, post-apocalyptic shooter with some looting type elements to it. So DayZ's kind of sort of died in my mind. I'm not playing it as much anymore, so I figured I'd give Tarkov a try. And I've really been enjoying it. I have a group that I've been rolling around with and such, and over the holidays they had the drops, the Twitch drops, and that just built up all this hype for EFT, and it got all this exposure, and all these new players are coming in and buying it, which is great. It's fantastic. Grow the community, you know, that's good. With that being said, Escape from Tarkov is not the most noob-friendly game out there. It's early access, and a lot of it's not explained in the game, and even as far as other early access games go that I've played, this one just in particular has a really high learning curve. I don't just mean like the gameplay and the elements and that sort of thing. Like that just kind of comes with time. I just mean like the basics of the game and how it works. It gets really confusing. So I'm still kind of new-ish. I mean, I've been playing for probably about a month now, and I feel like I'm uniquely positioned because I still am new to a certain degree, or at least remember kind of what it's like to be new, but I have mastered, you know, the basics of this game certainly, and how various things work. So I wanted to put together a few different videos, kind of in a little series, that just goes over some of the basics of Tarkov, and then we'll get into more advanced things later on, because since it's early access, you just don't have a lot of up-to-date content out there. If you search, you know, beginner's guides for Tarkov, a lot of your content is going to be like older stuff and, you know, not relevant to this patch. So I wanted to throw out some of this stuff because I want to keep it more relevant, and who knows, maybe I can then keep this updated as other patches go on, depending on how the reception is. So anyway, I kind of digress. Let's kind of get into this. This first installment, I guess, is going to be sort of a general overview of what I think are some of the most important things to understand when you're first playing Escape from Tarkov, and just kind of knowing more or less, you know, a general overview, broadly speaking, 50,000 foot view. How many analogies can I use? I'll stop now. Sort of look at the game. So when you first fire it up and come to the menu, in order to actually play the game itself, you gotta go to Escape from Tarkov here. And the first screen you're presented with is the PMC versus the Scav. Now, the difference between these two, roughly speaking, is just that the PMC is your actual character. This is like, you know, I mean, it says your main character, but this is like, you know, who you are more or less in the game. This character is tied to your stash, your gear, all the stuff you can get from raids, take in, take out, etc. is tied to your PMC. As a Scav, you can play as sort of like an AI character, except you control them. Scattered throughout the maps of Tarkov, you have AI called Scavs or Scav Raiders. There's like different levels. That's a topic for another day. And these Scavs populate the maps that you play in addition to the other PMC. So not only are you going to be going up against, you know, other players, but you're going up against AI. And those players you go up against can be either PMCs or player scavs is what they're commonly known as. And a player scav is just a player who's playing as a scav, and they come in and they're not, you know, they're PMC characters. So you're assigned a randomized like scav character each time, and when that scav character dies, then you're able, it resets and then you get another one. And that loadout can be completely different. Here you can see he's got, you know, some basic stuff, just like a vest. Looks like he's got some body armor underneath that. No hat, and just like a sniper rifle. So it's all random. Sometimes you can get really crappy loadouts like a pistol and a vest. Other times you can get like a helmet, body armor, and, you know, a really kind of decked out weapon. So it really just depends. And I've heard, my buddies have told me, I haven't confirmed this, I'll try to put this on screen to confirm whether or not this is true, but I have heard that as you get more experience with your scav, you actually can kind of sort of like level up your scav and get a better chance for more loadouts. So like I said, not sure if that's true, I'll put that up on the screen, but anyways, that's there, and I digress again. So these are two different things you can play as. As a scav, you go in with the randomized loadout, and your PMC character has various like experience and skills that are tied to him. So when you play as a scav, you don't increase any of those things. You don't gain experience. The thing that you do get though is any loot, and you can transfer that loot over to your PMC at the end of the raid if you survive. If you don't survive, you don't get nothing. That's just how Tarkov works. And believe me, there will be a lot of dying. Oh man, so much dying. So literally what you can do is you could spawn in as a scav, and just everything on that scav's person, you could just extract, not do anything else, not kill any people, just run to extraction, and anything on that scav will then be something that you can transfer over to your PMC. Or alternatively, you can spawn in as a scav, take your loadout, go loot some more, kill some other scavs, kill some players, what have you, and then if you successfully extract, then you can transfer all those things over to your PMC, and you can use those things as a PMC, sell them, and do what you wish. What? The other thing to keep in mind is that when you're playing as a PMC, all scavs on the map, AI scavs that is, are hostile to you. Now granted, most player scavs are going to be hostile to you as well, but not necessarily. You know, you might run across a friendly one. Maybe they're out there. I haven't seen one. But all scavs that are AI are going to be hostile to you. When you play as a scav yourself, as a player scav, none of the AI scavs are actually hostile to you, which is kind of really cool. You can sort of walk, you know, among them, pretend you're one of them, have some smokes with them, you know, to converse with them, whatever you want. Now, if you shoot one, then they'll become hostile to you. At least the ones sort of in the immediate area. If you go to the other edge of the map, those scavs a lot of times won't be hostile to you because like they didn't actually see you like shoot the other ones, you know. So they're just kind of like, bro, what up? You know, join us. But any scavs like in the immediate area of the scav that you murder, those scavs are going to be hostile to you as a player scav. So you can use that to your advantage. You can blend in. You can like go with other AI scavs and use them to attack with other players and all this good stuff. Or you can just kill them and take their stuff. It's really up to you. So now that you have a basic overview of PMC versus scav, we're gonna talk a little bit about your stash. So if you go to character here, you'll have your character stuff all here on the left. This is like the stuff that's on your person. And then your stash is over here, and it varies by size depending on what edition of the game you get, as well as I think certain in-game stuff you can buy. You can increase the size of your stash. I've got standard edition Tarkov, so I don't have like a very large stash. Some people it like goes for days and days, and you just keep scrolling, and it's amazing. I'm actually thinking about upgrading because, as you can see, I'm kind of running out of space. But anyway, I digress again. This is your stash. This is where you can put stuff. So when you finish a run like as a scav or as a PMC, you'll have a screen where you can you'll come back here and you can transfer stuff over as a PMC, or as a scav, you'll have a screen where like the scav stuff is all here on the left and you can transfer stuff over to your stash. If you don't have enough room and you can't fit stuff from your scav over to your stash, then you're just kind of out of luck and you'll lose anything that was on that scav. So always make sure you have enough room in your stash is the moral of the story. There are different ways you can make your stash seem bigger. With cases, this is the main thing. So like I've got some ammo pistol cases here, so they only take up 2x2, but look how much space they give you. They give you 12, and these ones down here are even better. This is a weapons case. It takes up, let's see, 1 2 3 4 5 10, so it takes up 10. Sorry, mental math on the fly. But look how much extra space it actually holds in it. So these are really good. They cost money. They're very expensive. There's other ways you can get them too, like having friends who are higher level than you and are willing to donate things. That's how I got that one. Here's an example of a med case that's got everything. So you can make do. You certainly don't have to like just feel pressured to buy a more expensive copy of the game to have a larger stash. And a lot of this stuff I could probably get rid of, honestly. I'm keeping a few things for some quests or tasks that I'm doing. So this is your stash. This is your person. And we'll go into this. I'll go into this like more in depth later, but this is just a general overview of the stash. And what I wanted to highlight is this thing in your pouch called the alpha container. Now, as far as I know, you can't take, oh, you can take this off. Look at that. I never knew that. Huh, I learn something new every day. Anyway, you have what's called your alpha container, or if you buy a better copy of the game, I guess, or better, maybe that's not the right word, a more expensive copy, a special edition of the game versus me, it'll have a different name, but mine's the alpha container. Regardless, you will have some sort of container, that's what I'm trying to say, and it has a certain, capacity, that's what I'm trying to say in it. Mine is 2x2, so not very big. There's another container that's 3x2, there's one that's 3x3, I think. And then if you do some crazy shenanigans in game, you can get like a super big one that's like the size of this backpack. Not really, but super duper big. And the unique thing about these containers is that anything you put within them, you get to keep no matter what happens during the raid. So if you die, we see all this great loot and stuff I got on me. If I were to die in raid, barring some exceptions, which I'll talk about in a sec, you lose all your gear. You lose it, you don't get it. It's permadeath. Kind of like, you know, if you play DayZ or any other spawn of DayZ, it's permadeath. You don't lose stuff in your stash. This stuff is all safe. No one can raid it. No one can get to this. This is safe. This is your safe place, okay? You can put anything here that you don't want to lose and then bring in stuff. But anything you bring in is subject to be lost unless it's in the alpha container. So make full use of this, any rare items you have, and I'll go into detail later in other videos about, like, you know, strategies for what things you can put in here and stuff. But anything you put in here is going to be kept safe even if you die. So that is something to keep in mind. If you have a big enough container, you can fit a lot of your kit in this container, and it helps save your money because as you die, and as I said before, you will die a lot in Tarkov, especially when you're first starting out. Even when you're experienced, go watch the streamers. They die a lot too. Anything you put in here is not something you have to rebuy, which is nice. Or if you find something really good in raid, stick it in your alpha container, all that good stuff. So wanted to highlight that for you, that it's permadeath, you lose everything, barring some exceptions I'll talk about later on, except for the alpha container. Okay, moving on to traders. When you first start off, you're not gonna have all this crap that I have here. This is a accumulation of stuff. You're gonna have, depending on what edition of the game you get, a certain number of rubles you spawn with, some guns, maybe some pistols, whatever, but you're inevitably going to need to get more stuff. You can find that in raid, you can find guns, you can loot guns off of people and scabs you kill, or in addition to that, you can then come here and you'll have these traders. Now, you won't have Jaeger here, ignore him, pretend he doesn't exist, because when you first start off, he's not going to be there. You have to do certain things to get him to actually then become a trader that you can utilize. So you're going to start off with these 7: Proper, Therapist, Fence, Skier, Peacekeeper, Mechanic, and Ragman. Each of these traders kind of specializes in a different sort of area, if you want to call it that. Proper. So proper, I think that's how you pronounce it. That's how my friends pronounce it, so that's how I pronounce it. But honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not really sure. Holy cow, I digress again. So proper, he tends to sell like your basic Russian gear. He sells guns, he sells ammo, he sends some basic gun mods. And he deals in ruble currency. That's something else to highlight. In Tarkov, you have 3 different currencies. You have, as you can see here at the top, you have rubles, which is this like P symbol with a little slash through it. Then you've got the euros, which is the E symbol, fancy E. Look at that, super fancy. And then you've got dollars, which is just the dollar sign. I shouldn't have to explain that. Most of you, I hope, know what the dollar sign looks like. Anyway, so you have those 3 currencies. And certain traders only deal with certain currencies, or, you know, they deal in multiple ones. So proper only deals in rubles. You can't buy stuff from him in dollars. He just doesn't like dollars, I guess, you know. Sue him, whatever. Therapist sells you your food, your meds, kind of your health items and some miscellaneous items and stuff, and she also deals in rubles. Fence is, so from what I understand, Fence is like a collection of stuff that the community has sold to him, so it can vary, you know, by the day and such. But I would kind of ignore Fence. That was my advice that I received, because he sells at a really high price, so it means you're gonna have to spend a lot more money to buy from him. And when you sell stuff to him, he kind of lowballs you and it's like, you know, okay, you're coming to me, it means you can't sell it anywhere else. I'm gonna lowball you and give you like 50% of what I should give you. So he's really kind of a last resort. If you can't sell anything to anyone else, or maybe on the flea market. I'm going to cover the flea market later. That's a whole different beast in and of itself. You can sell defense, but really you want to try to avoid him. Okay, then you have Skier. Skier's more like your gun mod nut kind of person, even though you think Mechanic maybe is like that. Skier sells more mods, it seems, than like Mechanic. Really useful guy, really great. He deals in rubles. He also sells some weapons too. Peacekeeper deals with your kind of like Western gear, so he sells a mix of everything: ammo, mags, weapons, and mods, and certain backpacks too. But he only accepts dollars in currency. So if you want to buy from him, you gotta first buy some dollars from him, and you have to do a currency exchange. It is 106 rubles per dollar. So you look at this and you're like, holy crap, $2 per bullet. That's much better than like 200, 300 rubles that Proper wants me to pay. Well, hold on a sec there, Sonny. If you actually do the conversion, 106 times 2 is, oh, this actually costs over 200 rubles. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. So be careful when you're looking at these. They can seem cheaper than what they actually are. And then Mechanic, he deals with guns and gun mods. Doesn't really sell magazines or ammo. He's a mechanic, so that's kind of what he does. So, and he only deals with rubles and euros. And then there's Ragman. He's your man for all your clothing and armor needs. He also sells a lot of backpacks and cool aesthetics like sunglasses, because who doesn't want to look good in the apocalypse when they're getting shot and they're dying constantly? So those are all the traders. I'm gonna ignore Jaeger because, like I said, you don't get him till later on, and by that point you'll have an understanding of the traders and what he does and stuff. But he's basically just kind of like a whiz-bin type guy. He sells a lot of shotguns and everything, rifles and stuff. I just recently got him. As you can see, I'm only like level 16, so I'm not entirely sure of all the stuff, all the goodies he's gonna sell, but that's kind of seems to be his spiel, because he's like a hunter type guy. So I'm guessing a lot of rifles, scopes, and shotties and stuff, and all the mods and stuff that go along with that. Moving right on, the EFT has a very robust control scheme. It's sort of similar if you've ever played the Arma games and how intricate Arma is. That's kind of like how this is. Maybe not quite as intricate, because there's no like communication stuff like Arma does. There's no like radio channels you have to deal with or anything, because you're not dealing with huge maps and huge like battles and stuff like that. But it's still pretty in depth, and it can be as, I guess, complicated and in depth as you want to be. You can ignore certain things all together, or you can utilize them depending on how well they fit into your play style and stuff. You got everything from like regular lean left and right to like this thing called smooth leaning. You have a way to switch scopes, change your scope magnification. You have changing your tactical device. You have checking your ammo, fire mode, all this stuff. And while I'm on the topic of that, I wanted to highlight, when you're in game and Escape from Tarkov, you don't have a nice little indicator in like the bottom right hand corner, on your HUD that tells you, hey, you've got 18 bullets left. You start with a full mag or whatever, and it'll tell you in your inventory how much you have. So if I just back out of here and go to my character, you can see here the M1A, it's got 30 rounds, 30 out of 30. That just means it's got a 30 round magazine, and there's currently 30 bullets in it. But this is like my home screen, so I can see how many bullets are in here no matter what. When I go into raid, it'll start with 30, and then when I fire some bullets off, it becomes a question mark, and because you no longer know how many bullets are in it. I guess the developers assume that you're not keeping count. So even if you fire like one bullet, it's still gonna go to a question mark, and you're not gonna know how it is. So that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense until you're in raid and you fire it off. Maybe you're like, wait, did I fire off 15 shots, 18, whatever? Like, how many bullets do I have? I don't know. What am I supposed to do? Well, there's a control that you can use to actually check your ammo, and your character will he'll take the mag out, and he'll give you an idea. A little text will come up on the screen, and it'll say like full or nearly full or about half, less than half, nearly empty. It's not going to give you an exact number, it's just going to give you a rough estimate. So Tarkov definitely favors those who fire off maybe about half of a mag, or sometimes just a few bullets, and people usually just switch mags because they want to know for sure how many bullets they have. So that's something to keep in mind, is that you are going to need to be looking at some of these controls and becoming familiar with them, like checking your mag. Otherwise, you're not going to know how much ammo you have, and it's going to lead to a whole world of hurt. So definitely come in here, familiarize yourself with these controls, and definitely don't be afraid to like change them from default. I went through and changed these up the wazoo because I wanted things that were more comfortable and intuitive for where my fingers are at on the keyboard. So go through and figure out what you like, and don't be afraid to kind of tinker around, try something out. If it doesn't work, go into a raid and just sit in a corner and go through these different controls and just practice them out, see how they work. If you don't like something, don't take something into the raid that is gonna, maybe do a scav raid or something. You're not gonna lose any gear, but just kind of sit in a corner, figure out what you like, what you don't like, and modify accordingly. By the way, ignore this when it says you don't have the proper map in your inventory. You can totally just hit next. It doesn't matter. It's not like the warning, even though it's really scary and red and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? All it's saying is that you should have a map. There's way better third-party maps available online. I'm going to link them some down in the description below that you can use. Don't worry about buying maps. Therapist sells them on here, but they're nondescript. It's not like there's nice little things on there that tell you how to do stuff or whatever. So just use the third-party maps I'm going to link below, or any kind of equivalent. So once you hit next, you can do what's called offline mode. And this will pit you against either just the AI. If you do enable PvE, you're going to have AI that you can fight against, which are just scavs. And you can set their difficulty accordingly, how much the amount is and such. So you can enable offline. And this is really helpful for just learning maps. When you go into a raid, you have to then leave the raid within a certain amount of time. So a raid has a certain timer on it, and you can check the time. I forget what it is by default. I think it's O on your keyboard. Check the controls to make sure. But if you hit O, it'll tell you like how much time is left in the raid. Then if you double click O, it brings up your extraction points or your evac points. There's so many different words used to describe this. It's the way you get out of the damn map without dying and with actually like keeping your gear. So very important. So when you spawn into a map, depending on where you spawn at on the map, you will have all these different extract locations you can use. Sometimes you only have one, sometimes you'll have more than one. And it usually spawns you, wherever you spawn at, it tries to put your evac site at like the farthest away from you that it can. So that way you have to like actually traverse the map, hopefully run into players, and you can't just like keep running for the exit. So not only is it important to like just know the general map for like to know where players usually go, where scavs spawn, everything you'd expect in a game that's a multiplayer game, you want to know the maps, right? But it's really important to know them, because once the timer counts down, if you're not out of the raid, you die and you lose all your stuff. So it's not like Call of Duty or any other game where when the timer runs down, it just ends the match and it's like, okay, who got the most kills? Oh, sweet, look at that. Okay, and you're just taken back to the main menu. No, you have to get out before the timer runs down. And it's not a big open world like DayZ or Arma or anything. So these are like smaller maps, and it's raid style. So you go into a raid, you do some stuff in that raid, then you try to get out in one piece. So with that being said, it's really important, I think, to use It's really important to use those third-party maps I'm going to link down in the description, as well as what I would recommend is offline mode. And you can even just take off enable PvE so that there's no AI on the map whatsoever, and just figure out where the actual extraction sites are. Spawn in, figure out, double tap O, whatever the default is, bring up what the evac sites are, look on the third-party map and be like, okay, I got to get to UN roadblock, or I got to get to crossroads, depending on the map. Find that on the map and then try to navigate yourself to it on the map. Do that a few times just to give just a general sense of where it's at and what it looks like. Because even if I know it's kind of in this area, it's this side of the map, there's a few evac sites that are like really small and kind of like almost hidden and nondescript, and you can sort of know where they're at, but if you don't see them, then it can get really hairy when you're actually in a raid and you've got like all this loot on you and you're like, oh my God, I just killed like 2 players, I got all these guns and loot, I want to sell them, or I want to put them in my stash, and you're sitting there running around and there's like 10 minutes left and there's players who are closing in on you, and you're just like, where is the damn evac? I can't find it. Yes, I may be talking from personal experience here. So do yourself a favor, either roll with a group, or even before you roll with the group, they'll appreciate you much more if you at least know some of the basics of the game, like where the evac sites are. So take full advantage of offline mode and figure out where those evac sites are before you actually start going in the game, and you'll save yourself a world of hurt. Finally, the last thing I think that you should know, at least when you're starting off, is insurance. So when you go to play as a PMC, this does not apply to your scav character, but when you're playing as a PMC and you select the map and you select the time, when you go to anything that's not offline, you will get to a screen that is it's called the insurance screen. So insurance in this game, remember I said before, it's permadeath, and that if you die in raid as a PMC, you lose all your stuff. And I said that there were some exceptions. Well, here's the exception basically you need to know. Proper has this scheme going, really lucrative, I'm sure, where all the PMCs can buy insurance from him, and he'll insure your guns and your armor, your sunglasses that you've got for a small fee. And then if you die in raid, and here's the key, if no one takes your gear out of that raid successfully, then within 24, down here you've got the return time, after 24 to 36 hours, Proper's men will find your stuff and bring it back to you, and you get it back. So if you got some really dope gear you're bringing in, some cool armor, the sweet gun that you got, and you're like, man, I don't want to lose this, you can insure it with Proper, and that way if you get one tapped in the face by a scav in a random part of the map, you can at least rest assured that hopefully if no one else on the map finds your stuff, you're going to get it back at the end of the day, which is great because gear is expensive, and this game is kind of all about, at least initially, it's all about gaining enough money to where you feel like you can buy stuff without going broke. So definitely take full advantage of this. This is especially nice if you're in a group or you play with a buddy, because if one of you dies and the other survives, and the survivor or survivors are able to, they can take your gear and hide it like in a bush or in a really nondescript area of the map, and that way they drop it, and in an area that people can't find it, the raid will end, and then no one finds it, and then guess what? You get it back because no one carried it out. Now, if someone takes your gear, carries it for a bit, and then they themselves die, say from a random scav, or a player kills them and the player decides not to loot them or loot some of their stuff, it doesn't loot your stuff or only some of it, whatever. Anything that's not, that doesn't count. So it still comes back to you. It's got to actually be physically taken out of the raid. If player scavs come in and kill you, or they find your stuff, they find your dead body and take it out, you're out of luck. The insurance won't work. So I found insurance a little bit confusing when I started, but that's just basically how it works, is that it doesn't come back to you straight away. So if you end the raid when you're dead and you insured your stuff and you start your next raid and you're like, where's all my loot? Oh my God, Proper, you gypped. You're horrible. No, it just takes some time. He'll send you a message down here in Messenger. This is how the traders will communicate with you, and he'll be like, yo, I've sent some boys out. They're gonna try to find your stuff, you know? Just sit tight. And he'll say like, sit tight, sugar. It's kind of disturbing, but that's a topic for another day. And then if they're successful, he'll be like, yo, bro, we found it. Here you go. Happy doing business with you. And if not, he'll be like, sorry, went to the location, didn't find anything. Oh well, I still got my money, but you're shit out of luck. But I know you'll come back and insure your stuff again, because who doesn't? And that's something I'll go into detail later too, as to why you should generally insure and what type of items you can insure. And that'll be kind of a topic of another video. So that's just an overview of how insurance works. You can see here, you know, I've got a bunch of stuff already insured here. It's got the little shield on it. This is something that's not insured because I don't often insure my backpack. That's just me. And I'll go over that kind of later. So there you go. There's a short / really long introduction, my introduction at least, to Tarkov and some of the basics that I think you should know when you basically first fire up the game. There's so much more to get into, and I certainly couldn't fit it all in one video, or even 2 or 3 or 4. So like I said, I'm gonna do like a little series with this. I plan to, and just throw them up and cover some topics that I think are really confusing or not explained well, or in other videos I've looked at are not, you know, particularly covered well by other YouTubers and content creators, and just kind of do my best to explain it and how it works and some of the intricacies of it. It'll be more advanced stuff as well as just basics. There's a lot of stuff going on with your character, how health works, how skills work, tasks, all this stuff, and we'll get into that all as time goes on. So if you picked up EFT for the first time recently, good choice. It's a great game. It's very punishing. It's very difficult, but I can say that it's a lot of fun. It's very addicting, I think. If you like an apocalypse looting, you know, almost DayZ type of game, I think you'll feel right at home. And once you get the hang of certain things, like I said, it's very addicting to just be like, oh, I'm just going to do one more raid, or oh, let me just try to mod this gun a little bit more. And you can spend so many hours just like modding guns, trying to get them to your preference, you know, finding the intricacies of a raid. When you kill your first PMCs, you have that really good round, you're just like, oh my gosh, that makes up for the 75 times I've died previously. So welcome to the community, and hope you guys found this enjoyable and somewhat helpful. If you did, I'd really appreciate if you would smash that like button and consider subscribing for more content like this in the future. I appreciate all your guys' support. Let me know in the comments below if this is your first time and what you're thinking of the game so far, and as well as, you know, how you came to know about it. If you came to know about it through all the Twitch hype over the past week or so, put that down there. Let me know what streamers you were watching and what you thought. So again, thank you all for the support, and I will see you soon.